I created 9 infographics and 8 PDF resources for a client's program in roughly 2 hours. If I did that the old way, like using Canva templates, manual formatting, tweaking fonts, changing colors, undesigning the overall look and layout, that work would take me a couple of days at least. Now it takes me a couple of hours because of AI. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can also create well-designed resources for your course, group program, or workshops. By the way, if we haven't met yet, my name is Hazel June, and I work with online education businesses, designing online programs, building AI resources, and helping clients use AI. I've worked with top online programs in the space that generate over 7 figures per year, coached hundreds of business owners, and trained thousands of people on program design and leveraging AI. Now, I want to start with something that took me longer than I'd like to admit to figure out. I've been building course materials and learning resources for clients for a long time, like worksheets, PDF guides, templates, checklists, all the things. The kind of thing a student needs to go from I understand the lesson to I actually did the thing. And for a long time, I had a process. It worked, but it was slow, inconsistent, and the output always felt like it was one step below what it should be. And then I started using Gemini, Canvas, and NotebookLM. And I want to show you in this video what that looks like in practice, including the part that nobody talks about, which is what your job actually is when AI is handling that visual design layer. Okay, here's something most educators and experts don't usually think about. Your content is what teaches. Your resources are what students use when they sit down to do the actual work. The lesson video is the explanation, the worksheet, the checklist, the reference guide. That's where the implementation happens. That's where a student goes from watching to doing. And if that resource is vague, hard to use, or just aesthetically uninspiring, students won't use it. They're going to watch the video, nod along, and feel like they got it. And then they would move on without actually doing anything. And so 2 weeks later, you're going to see them falling behind and they're going to feel like they're failing. I've done so much program audits to say this with, some confidence. The programs with the best success stories always have the better designed implementation resources and tools. Not longer videos, not more modules, but better tools that actually help students further understand the concept or framework or implement the action steps better and or faster. There are, different resources you can build to help your clients or students get the promised outcome. And it all boils down to understanding what would make implementation easier, faster, or better. You can create worksheets, templates, step-by-step guides, AI tools and checklists, interactive exercises, and a whole bunch more. Each of those has a different prompt strategy. But in this video, we're going to focus on infographics and downloadable PDFs because they're usually the most common. So let's get started. Let's start with NotebookLM. It's one of my favorite AI tools, and I use it for a bunch of different things. For this video, we're going to focus on a couple of features, infographics and slide decks. When I first started using NotebookLM, it's already powerful because you can create slides, audios, videos, and reports. But they made it more powerful because now you can do a whole lot more and you can also customize your request, which wasn't really available before. Now, if you're a non-designer like me, creating presentations and slides can be a real pain and time consuming. Although honestly, I enjoy it because I enjoy anything aesthetic, but it's taking so much of my time. That's why I'm so stoked that you can now create branded slide decks in NotebookLM. And if you're not happy with the design, you now have the option to edit it, which is a really time saver. So let me show you how. Okay, so first let's do a quick tour of NotebookLM. So all you got to do is go to notebooklm.google.com and you'll be able to start creating notebooks. So when you create a notebook is basically, you can think of it like a drive or you can store a bunch of different sources of information or data sources. So when you start creating a notebook, it's going to ask you to upload or drop your files. And you can drop a bunch of different files here. You can add website or YouTube videos. You can even get files from your Google Drive, or you can just copy and paste the text. Once you've uploaded the files, you're going to see it here on this left panel. And then this side, the one on the center, that's where you can start chatting or have a conversation with NotebookLM. On the right-hand side, this is where you can find all of the studio tools. Right now, it's grayed out because we don't have any sources. And this is a great thing about NotebookLM. It's how it's different from other AI tools is that the only source of information that NotebookLM is going to use in order to generate stuff for you, whether that's text, reports, slides, infographics, and whatnot, it will only take the information from the sources that you have listed here. And you get to choose as well which source of information you'd like NotebookLM to use for a certain project. So once you have sources uploaded here on this left-hand side, these features on the right-hand side will be enabled. So you'll be able to create or generate audios, slide decks, videos, mind maps, reports, and all of these good stuff. All of the notes that you've added or all of the things that you've generated will appear down here at the bottom of the studio panel. All right, now we're going to look at one of my existing notebooks, which is all about course creation. So I've uploaded a bunch of different sources or files that I have around course creation. And this is what we're going to use to demo how you can create slide decks. Okay. So as you can see, I have all of my context files on the left-hand side. The studio panel, as you can see, they're all enabled because I have sources uploaded, right? If I unchecked all of the sources, you're going to see that the features have been disabled because there's no source where they can get information from. All right, so let's get started. A best practice that I recommend you do before you start this stuff is to create these simple prompts that you can just copy and paste whenever you ask either NotebookLM or Gemini Canvas to generate resources for you. And I learned this the hard way because the first time I did it, I had to just type it out every single time. And so what I did is to come up with a simple prompt that allows me to just copy and paste so that all of the resources follow the same branding guidelines. Now that we have the branding thing set up, let's start creating a presentation. So what you want to do is pick or choose what sources you'd want NotebookLM to use when generating the slide deck, okay? So for instance, I want to generate a slide deck based off this worksheet that I have on 6 secrets to creating courses that sell. So all I have to do is check the sources or source that I would want NotebookLM to use in generating the presentation for me. Now that we've picked the source, then we're going to click slide deck from the studio panel. And you want to click on this arrow right here because then it allows you to customize your instructions. So you can choose whether it's a detailed slide deck or a presenter slides. For this demo, we're just going to use presenter slides. I just want key talking points on the slides. And then here on this text box is where we're going to describe the slide deck that we would want NotebookLM to generate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy my branding prompt here, paste it there in the text box, and then I'll just describe the slide deck that I would want NotebookLM to generate. Okay. So I have specified what exactly I'm looking for in the slide deck that I would love NotebookLM to generate. And then I also added the branding prompt that we talked about earlier. Once you're good with the prompt, just click generate. And then it's going to take some time to generate the slide deck. Now, while that's generating, I want to move on and talk about infographics. Now, there are different types of infographics depending on what you want to highlight. So there's comparison infographic if you want to compare two different things. There's statistical infographic if you want to highlight the numerical or quantitative data. There's process or flow chart if it's more process oriented. There's timeline, and there's informational or list based. So the type of infographic that you're going to choose or create will depend on the type of information that you would want to present to your clients or students. Now, let me show you how you can create an infographic in NotebookLM while we're waiting for the slide deck to be generated. Okay, NotebookLM is still generating our slide deck. And so what we're going to do is start generating infographics. Like what we did before, I've chosen the source file that I would love NotebookLM to use in generating the infographic. So I chose this workbook. So what we're going to do, from the studio panel, you want to go to infographic, click that arrow. And then from here, you're going to choose what orientation, whether you want landscape, portrait, or square. You can choose the visual style depending on your vision for that infographic. So they have a bunch of different styles here. I usually just go auto select unless there's specific branding requirement for certain clients. Then you can choose the level of detail for the infographic. So at the bottom, you have the text box where you can enter your design prompts, basically. So what we're going to do, same thing that we did earlier, we're going to copy our design prompts right there. And then we are going to specify the type of infographic that we would want NotebookLM to generate for us. Okay, I've just specified what I'm looking for in the infographic. In this case, I would want an informational infographic highlighting the 4D course creation system that was mentioned in the source file. And once you're happy with the prompt, all you got to do is click generate. But again, if there's a specific visual style that you would want NotebookLM to use in generating your infographic, you can choose any of these things. For me, I just want to use auto select and let NotebookLM decide what visual style would make the most sense for the type of infographic that I would want to be generated. So let's generate. And as you can see, it's added at the bottom of the studio panel. And now you have a couple of resources being generated. We have the one on slide decks and we have another one on infographics. So while you're waiting for these two resources being generated, you can start generating another resource or you can do something else. All right. So as you can see, both the infographic and the slide deck has been generated. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's look at the slides. We have the slides and it looks pretty good, isn't it? So it definitely use the font and the colors that I specified. Now, if there is anything on the slide deck that you would want NotebookLM to revise, there is an option to do that now. This option wasn't available before. So if you don't like the slide deck that NotebookLM generated, you need to regenerate the slide deck. Now you can revise the slide deck just by clicking on this pencil icon that says revise. And if you click that, you can enter your request for revision. So for example, I really don't like this blue circle. So let's just say remove the small blue circle and then regenerate, revise slide deck. So now it's generating the revision, right? So while we're waiting for that, let's take a look at the infographic, which is this right here. There we go. Doesn't it look nice? It looks pretty dope. This is good. Nice. Perfect. I really love how neat and minimalist it looks. So I really love how this turned out. Okay, looks like the slides has been regenerated. Oh, there we go. The blue circle was removed like I specified or like I asked. So remember, all I did was click on this pencil icon right here that says revise and enter the specific feedback or revision request that I have for each slide. And you can do that for each slide right here. So earlier we just did slide 1, but if you have feedback on slides 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth, you can, because there's a specific text box for each slide. And all you have to do is click here where it says generate revised deck, and you should be good to go. Now, ain't that fun? At this time of recording the video, the ability to edit infographics is not yet available. So if you don't like the first version that NotebookLM generated, all you have to do is generate a new infographic, which is still easier compared to doing it manually. Now let's talk about the AI tool that's going to help us create PDF resources, which is Gemini Canvas. Gemini Canvas is different from a regular chat window. And here's why. Instead of getting a response you copy and paste somewhere else, Gemini is going to build a live editable document in the same window. You prompt it, it generates, and then you can refine directly inside the canvas without having to start over. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They prompt Gemini the same way they would prompt a chatbot, something like create a worksheet for my course on productivity. Now, if you do that, Gemini is going to give you something. It will have headings. It's going to look cool. It's going to look like a worksheet. However, it will also feel like it could apply to literally any course by anyone. And that is the problem. Generic prompts produce a generic output. The prompt that actually works is specific and give Gemini enough context, like your branding colors, the resource structure, and the actual content of the resource. So let me show you how. Now, before you start creating PDF resources in Gemini, what you want to do first is prepare a couple of things. One, you want to prepare the actual resource content that you need to feed Gemini so that it doesn't produce generic output. The second thing you want to prepare is your design prompts, kind of like how we had one when we were doing slide decks and infographics in NotebookLM. You also want to have a design prompt for Gemini Canvas. That way, all of the PDF resources look and feel the same. Now that we're on Gemini, what you want to do is click Tools and then select Canvas so that we can start building the PDF resources. Now that we've enabled Canvas, we need to copy and paste this prompt right here, and then add the actual content for the resource. So in this case, I'm going to use the content that I have from this old slide deck. So let me do that real quick. Okay, now that we've added the actual resource content, all we need to do is press enter. As you can see, it's starting to generate the resource for us based on the information that we've provided and the branding guidelines that we have specified. All right, now it looks like we have our PDF resource already created. And this looks pretty good, but it's not the best one, isn't it? Now, the great thing about Gemini Canvas is that you don't have to regenerate the PDF when you need some revisions done, because you can edit in context. All you have to do is click this button right here and then highlight a section and then tell Gemini what exactly you want it to do. So let's do that real quick. So I click this and you know what? Let's find something I want. Let's say I want this removed. So let's select and ask. Ask Gemini, remove this section. And then once you've provided it feedback, it will start revising the PDF resource based on the feedback. That way you do not have to start from scratch. Okay. Look at that. It did remove that section that I asked it to remove, right? Which is great. All right. When you're happy with the overall PDF design and it's ready, then you can export the PDF directly from the canvas. So all you got to do is click this button right here that says download preview. And then it's going to download your PDF resource, kind of like what you see here. And then voila, Now you have a branded PDF resources that your students or clients can use to implement the concept you taught them. Easy peasy, isn't it? And so much fun too. Now, one practical note, and I've mentioned this earlier, but it's worth repeating. If you're building a set of resources for the same exact program, you want to keep a running prompt of your branding guidelines. That way, you don't need to always type the entire prompt. You can just copy it for every resource you want to generate. Now, here's the part I want to make sure you take with you, because there is a mental thing that happens when you start using AI for client facing work. And if you don't name it, you'll either over attribute the work to the tool or feel weird about what you're charging. And it's something that I realized because of a client Slack message. He sent the message to one of the subject matter experts in the program, and he said, Hazel is amazing at creating visuals, graphics, etc. And when I saw that, I sat with that for a minute. And my first thought was, that wasn't me, that was AI. But if I really look into what I was doing, I was deciding where the friction in the program was and what resource format would remove it. I was deciding what type of infographic or resource would make the most sense so it's actually helpful. Gemini took care of the visual layer based on those decisions. So, yes, I'm not the designer because I'm the architect. Gemini and NotebookLM can generate stunning infographics and great PDFs. But just because they're beautiful doesn't mean they're useful or effective. And that distinction matters because it changes your frame of reference. My clients don't pay me for a pretty PDF. They're paying for the thinking that determine what goes in it, where it goes, and how it functions in the context of their students' learning journey. The PDFs and infographics are just the tangible outputs of that thinking. So I just want to share that in case you're in a similar situation that I was in. If this is clicking for you, go ahead and hit subscribe. I make videos about productizing IP, leveraging AI, and running a solo business. If you want to dive into AI a bit more, I talked about how I was running 2 AI sessions at the same time, building client materials while watching anime. It's the video linked somewhere here. So watch that one next. See you in the next video. Ciao.